All right, good morning, everybody. It's Shona and Maya here this morning. We are the creators of this little mini series of conversations. For those who don't know me, my name is Maya. I am a vocal healing and vocal transformational coach. I've been in this space for a while. I was a singer for many years, and so voice is absolutely my thing. And I'm going to hand it to Shona to introduce herself, and then we'll get into it.
Hi, I'm Shona, and I help everybody to break free of their entrapments so they can be in joy and expressing themselves fully, and bringing more light into this earth space so that we can cross the bridge in happiness and sharing and collaboration. And today we're sharing with you more wonderful awareness around knowing your truth, claiming your independence, and standing in your power, which is a very powerful subject, actually.
Yeah. Perfect for the times at the moment. So last conversation we had, we talked about, how the systems are broken and how we're never going to go back to what was, and opening the conversation to what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And Shona broke down beautifully the word possibility and the true meaning of power and magic in that word.
Mm-hmm.
And today, it's just another extension, really, of that conversation, just another facet, another side. Because once we, in order for us to decide what we want, we really have to own our voice, from my perspective, right? It's all about really owning our voice and not being afraid to speak our mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think today we want to talk about, what is our truth? How do we find our truth? And how do we stand so firmly with conviction in our truth that all the truths around us kind of fade out? So we're not listening just to what people are telling us. We're not listening to what's just in the media. We're not really listening to anything outside of ourselves. And that can be really hard because there's just so much being thrown at us in every single moment, especially now when we're all stuck at home with our family members and they have completely different views maybe, or, stuck in a sense with a partner who perhaps doesn't have the same view, or, confined to a circle of friends who maybe see you in a certain light that you don't see yourself anymore. And so for me, to own my truth is to really stand on my own, away from the role of mother and wife and daughter and friend and everything else. Because although all of that's wonderful, that's not necessarily a place where I can really get quiet and understand what is my truth. So I think we want to bring those ideas to you today, and also maybe some tools on how you can further dive into a place of curiosity so that you can get to your truth from a place of ease and grace. Something like that.
Yeah, that's very true. And also it's embracing your authentic truth, what your journey is. And quite often we have things on our journey, skeletons in the cupboard even, that we do not speak about. And those things are highly powerful. And, when we speak those things, it's where we claim who we are, because our treasures are found within those things which could have caused us the greatest pain. For example, in my case, I went through sexual abuse when I was very young, and domestic violence in my marriage, which I had the courage to break free from. So those things could have really silenced me.
Yeah.
And for a time, they did. But in recognizing them and recognizing the power of owning up to them, it opens doors, avenues to go to that could never be considered before, because I can stand in my power in those things, and because I've taken ownership of those things, it means I do not have fear around things. And people can say what they want to say in my direction around what I believe and what I speak, but it has no effect upon me because I have claimed my truth right down to the very core of who I am and what I've experienced.
Yeah, so it's like an anchor.
Yeah. And it's in that space, wherever your journey is, it's in that space when you claim freedom. And that's
You,
an
you
important.
froze that on ownership.
Hmm?
You froze on ownership. Say that last line again.
Oh, okay. It's through taking ownership of your experience that you find your freedom.
Mm, beautiful. I really, I can so understand that feeling, because there is something happens to us when we take ownership, when there is no longer this claim to blame someone else or anything outside of us. And, you know, when you said about speaking your truth literally, so for me, when I'm working, even with a client or with myself or with, it doesn't matter with who, there's something about being vocal and saying something out loud that releases any attachment of shame to that thing. It's almost as if just by saying the words, this breath of shame leaves with the word. You've spoken it out loud, you've put it out there. And from my perspective, this claiming of our truth really needs to be a shared experience almost. It almost makes us have to own up to it. Because if we just write it down for ourselves, or we keep a little quiet journal, or it's something still very much hidden. And so when I think about, you know, reclaiming your truth and reclaiming your power, for me, it's very much about expressing that. And I see how just the expression of it allows for more truth to come through, because now you've released something that you thought was terrible. You know, some big secret, some big thing. Once you release it, there's something that physically, I want to even say somatically, happens, a release. And I think what that does, that ripple effect into the world, people feel that. And then they suddenly feel more courageous to share their truths. But Shona, what's something that you would share maybe with one of your private clients about finding their truth? What would be like a practice or a process or something that people can sit with themselves? You know, perhaps sometimes meditating is hard for people, sometimes sitting for long periods of time. But you and I know that in very short space of time, massive transformation can happen.
Yeah.
So what's something, yeah.
With me, it's about listening to the body and feeling the body's messages. Where do I feel uncomfortable? And basically, I literally breathe into that space and just simply allow what's there to leave. And it feels, because when you're letting go of something that's been trapping you from moving forward, it's almost like a black smoke that you just kind of go, and it just leaves your body. And it does take a real conscious listening to your physical beingness. But if you just sit still and go and just feel yourself, because many of us just don't give ourselves the time to just really feel how we're feeling.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing that we have a lot of time for in this moment, because we've got nothing to do, stay at home, sit in the garden, be with family or whatever. So we have much more time to actually connect with the truth of how we're feeling and take charge of our experience. That's really what it's about. Having the courage to take charge of your experience and no longer be led by others' rules and regulations and other people's ideas of you. It's through listening to your body and feeling what's going on inside and allowing yourself to breathe into that feeling that allows you to release what is trapping you. And that's what I personally do.
It's interesting because in my work, I use the analogy of the wave a lot, because I think that's the reflection in so many different ways, in terms of breathing, in terms of singing, in terms of using the voice. And what I've come to understand is that the emotion for me and for many people I spoke to is like a wave. Sometimes the wave feels so big that you just aren't even willing to go with the crash of that wave. But what I've realized is that if you just allow the wave to overtake and allow that crash to become on the other side of that wave, it's almost like the wave carries all this pain, and the second it crashes, it just breaks apart completely. And it's interesting that you say the breath, because I teach this very deep belly breathing, expansive breath all the time. And I know many breathwork teachers teach many different kinds of breath, but I try to bring people back to their natural state of breathing. You know, if you watch a baby sleeping, their belly goes up and their belly goes down. And we've gotten completely away from that. We're in anxiety breath all the time up here. And there's something about this moment between the pain, which can be so overwhelming for people, and the release. And there's something really magical that happens in that space. And it's that real reclaiming that happens. It's almost like the body knows that you're about to let go of something to come back to self. And so if we're talking about really anchoring our truth and finding it and being more, I should say, being less forgiving of ourselves and letting ourselves off the hook and really getting deep into releasing whatever that block is. Once we reclaim our truth, once we allow all that shit to go and really bring in what is ours, what would you say is a way for us to recognize the difference between the truth and what our conditioning brings back? Because again, you can let go of something and yet there's another layer and another layer. And what do you think is a way for people to really recognize that truth as the fundamental truth?
Okay, well, from my personal experience with my own restoration, because I call it restoring, we're remembering who we are, we're realigning with the truth of ourselves and remembering that truth. So for me, my personal journey, when I released something, but it wasn't the direct root of the issue, I felt ungrounded still. Because my issue has been, because most of my stuff, certainly with the sexual abuse, it closed down my energy below my heart space. And I had loads of energy up here and none down there. So what I found, if I technically release something, so to speak, and it wasn't the root of it, I still felt really kind of ungrounded and light in my legs. They still kind of felt wobbly, if you like. And I still felt wobbly. There wasn't really the truth behind the release. But when it was like really acknowledging how I felt in my kind of reproductive system, what was going on in there, the sadness of the situation, the grief, yeah, exactly, then that truth of it allowed, as you say, the wave to come up, the wave of power, if you like. And yes, that involves tears, but tears are powerful, they're healing. That belief system that tears are weak is nonsense. They are actually one of the most powerful things that you can do for yourself. And yeah, acknowledging the wave of release when you actually connect with the truth is one of the most empowering things that you will ever do. And it will allow you to actually see the truth of yourself. Because quite often, as I said at the beginning, the truth of you is in that experience. And it's quite often the opposite of the experience, because from sadness comes joy. And it's an important point as well, that from the darkest dark, the lightest light is found. And that's another important point of this time, because some of you will be seeing it as a very dark space, and some of you will be seeing it as a very light space. And they're both correct. But those of you who are seeing it as a dark space are in the process of finding your light. And those of you who see it as a light space are in the process of fulfilling the truth of who you are. And that's basically how I personally am seeing this time.
And there's just so much to unpack there. I'm like, oh wow, where do we go from here? I feel like it's such a crucial time for us to start to express our truth in ways that we've never done before, like never before. You know, and that truth is not just in speaking, but in searching, you know, because there's a lot out there for us to absorb. And sometimes we can get lost in that, you know, in all that information and trying to find out what the truth is. And I guess I just want to encourage people to go back to the feeling space, you know, finding your truth and finding your voice and finding your ability to express that is in the feeling space. You have to get out of our heads.
Yeah, and the true feelings, the divine feelings that I refer to them as, are peace, love, courage, and joy. And as we've been talking about feeling pain and riding waves and everything else, courage is a super attribute of sovereignty. And anything outside those things, those four things that I've mentioned, is an emotion that is a guide to your truth, and it's not actually real of you, if that makes sense. It's not actually, it's a stepping stone to finding you. And it's in those emotions and really kind of looking at why you experience those emotions in certain times, like why you're triggered to anger, why you're triggered to jealousy, if you have that, or anything really. And you look at that. If you look really deeply, either through journaling or seeing where it's fired off in your body, this is why I said it's important to feel your body, feel where it kind of gets kicked off in your body, and breathe into that space. You release what's behind it, so that more of you can come forward. And it's just a beautiful discovery to find you. Don't give up.
Yeah, it's a never-ending search, but a great journey to get there, huh?
Yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted, I will say.
Not for the faint-hearted, no, definitely not. Those waves can kick your ass.
Yeah, but it's well worth it on the other side.
It's absolutely well worth it. It's interesting, you know, I see the wave as like the fear of, you know, the upheaval is the fear and the shame and the pain and everything. And then the crash is like the nakedness, free, running through the fields as a 3-year-old, you know, not thinking about it. It's just this absolutely freeing experience to be on the other end of that.
Yeah, it is.
And as we were talking about yesterday about, you know, how everything is broken down, how the systems have all broken, and it segued into this because we had spoken before about how, you know, the only way we're going to change the direction, the only way we're going to shift things in a real way and understand that shift that needs to happen is if we come back to our truth. Mm-hmm. And be able to express that so we can begin to create that next, whatever we're going to create, that next wave of amazingness. Yeah, that next wave of amazingness.
What we're asking for.
Yeah.
You know, deep down what you're asking for, that perfect life. That's on the outside, your version of that.
Yes. And the freedom, really, you know, the freedom to understand that you can create. Oh, my connection is unstable. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
So, anything you would like to add?
Oh, we've been a powerhouse today.
It's funny because the energy feels very, you know, dense and potent, right?
Yeah.
Yesterday was more light and today is very, but you know, it's
what's required.
Topic. Yeah. You know, these conversations, we didn't decide to bring them upon people to entertain them. That wasn't the point.
No, it was to help you find yourself and who you are and what you want to do in this time, because it's a space that's just been made available for that. And we're basically doing these, I call it coffee talk conversations. We have very in-depth coffee talk conversations.
I don't do surface well. I never have.
Yeah.
I dive deep right away.
Yeah. And it's just, it's just have the courage to have the strength to find yourself, to really claim who you are and stand in your power. And no matter what your experience has been, if I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Everyone can do it.
And that's the beauty, you know, is reminding people that we've all had shit happen to us.
Yeah.
You know, sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, you know, shaming, you know, so many dysfunctional family scenarios, so many dysfunctional societal scenarios. I mean, there's just no end to the dysfunction that's been going on rampant. And to start having these conversations, to understand that we've all been through it. It's not like anyone has been exempt. And so there's really that shame and that I always say to people, and I say it to myself too, that courage comes easy to those who are encouraged. Do you know what I mean? Like, we haven't been encouraged to be honest and open in ourselves. We've been taught to shut up and stay quiet and not ruffle any feathers. And, I think that you and I came together also to encourage people to do it,
Yes.
encourage them to say, oh, I'm getting emotional. That's what I know. The truth is
Yeah, the truth is
give
very
me
powerful.
waves. Yeah. There's something, we're not encouraged enough to seek our truth, to speak our truth, to sit in the pain, and allow it to almost hurt us so deeply that it just pushes so hard in a space that's closed that it just unlocks that door.
And it allows the light to
Yeah.
pour forth to replace the pain.
Yeah. And it starts to really, like you said, the cracks of light start to come through. And again, I have never been someone to have light conversations. But they're always, anchored in love and anchored in a place of deep exploration, so we can go there.
Yeah.
We can go there because the truth of who you are and your desires and your power come from those deep, uncomfortable sometimes and heavy in some ways. But I want to encourage all of us to have the courage to do the work, because on the other side, there really is a lightness. There really is that joy. There really is that release of shame or guilt or anything. And we need that. We're humans. We've come here to feel deeply.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So on that note,
have the courage to find yourselves. That's what the message is.
yes, and have the courage to speak it, and have the courage to share it, and have the courage to own it and release it into the world. And I'm like the sharing preacher. If you ever see anything on my videos, it's like share, because when we share these experiences, someone on the other side of the world is going to feel less alone. Somebody else, even in your circle, who you don't even know has been through what you've been through, will suddenly be open to sharing, and in sharing, releasing, and in releasing, healing, and in healing, moving into a place of empowered expression, empowered full expression. And that's what we're here to be. We're here to be the fully expressed versions of ourselves. And this time and this opportunity, I see it as an opportunity, is given us space to do that, which is, again, why we're here having this conversation, to remind everyone and ourselves first that this is the time to do that work.
Yeah, because it's so, because another thing I'm hearing a lot of, I mean, this is a topic we'll go into another day a bit more, I think, but just to touch on it briefly, as part of this, many are struggling financially right now because what's promised isn't being given to support you in this time. And this is about finding your current, and your current is your currency. So if you have the courage to find your truth, you have the courage to speak it, you have the courage to put your message out there, you will naturally create your currency in a monetary abundance, as well as a empowerment.
Absolutely. So we hope you've enjoyed us and our rantings, and we hope you take something away from it. We are here purely out of love, and you know, it's early morning for me, it's late night for Shona. We tried to find a real time when, you know, we thought everyone could be on. We're desperately trying to do this on a Facebook Live, and it's not happening at all. So
It's
we'll
just too powerful, obviously.
So we're going to just be posting our videos, and please comment and let us know that you've witnessed this, and that perhaps share your experience in the comments of how do you find your power, and if you found it, are you able to express that, and if not, what are the questions you may have for us on how to do it, or perhaps you have some, you know, beautiful information for us, how you can help others to share their message and to find their truths, because we all have answers. Shona and I are not here to lead the way. We're here to be part of the movement.
Yep,
you know, not just lead the way. We're here to be with everyone. We are all leaders in this space, and we are all here to lead together, you know, to really push our internal compass and our internal leadership muscle and lead with that. So we're very much open to hearing about your wisdom and your experience.
Every single person has their own uniqueness that no one else has. So yeah, as Maya says, if you have something to share with us, do share it with us, because there is no competition. We're here to collaborate and to help each other.
That's right.
And that's the important point of it too.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Because we do more recognizing that we are a network of energy in a house.
That's
And we
right.
recognize that and work together in our own little aspects of that energy, collaborating together. Huge power source.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. So in saying that, my loves, please comment and let us know where you're listening from and share your wisdom. We're waiting to hear it.
Yeah.
All right, big love, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye for now.
Bye.